Good morning.
Good morning, Carolyn. So it looks like we've got, I think, everybody that we're expecting this morning. So thank you so much for joining us for our compliance advisory panel this morning on this beautiful gray Ohio day. So it looks like we've got myself, Gloriana, John, Jessica, Carolyn Sobolski, Brooke Grant, Jerry Rao, Dan Sowery, and Steve Cantor. Gretchen Craycraft, who's our Deputy Director of Legislative Affairs, should be joining us as well here soon. So we'll just go ahead and start and say welcome. Thank you all for joining us, and then I'll hand it over to Jerry for some opening remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Lexi. So good morning, everybody, and want to welcome you as well. If we haven't met, I'm Jerry Rao. I'm Chief of the Division of Environmental and Financial Assistance. So we're glad to have you here with us. And I'm just going to take 1 minute to kind of give you that second welcome, and also just to give you a couple of really quick updates before we turn it over to, I think, either Gretchen or Dan is next. There's two things I want to briefly mention today, and that it is DEFA's annual report, which I'm super excited about, and I want to encourage you all to take a look at, is one thing. And then the second is just to give you kind of a super quick update on Ohio EPA's involvement in the H2 Ohio program. So our team did a fantastic job of completing the annual report for 2020 for DEFA, and we're really proud of it because we think that it kind of summarizes like a lot of the activity that we have done during the past year. So it's on the agency's main page. If you just go to the Ohio EPA main page, there's what we call a scrolling banner of about 5 or 6 different items, and you'll see an item that's called DEFA 2020 Annual Report. And all you got to do is click on that, and the report just opens right up. And we definitely are proud of it. You'll see in there it summarizes the activity that we have been involved with our 2 state revolving loan programs, the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund and the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account. Together, those 2 programs awarded just a little bit less than $900 million in loan activity for 2020, which is the second most activity that we've had. So we're super proud of that. Maybe a little bit closer to home for this group, our staff responded to over 13,000 environmental assistance requests to Ohio businesses and communities. So that's just an awful lot of assistance that our staff have been providing, answering questions, pointing people into the right direction for where they can get more information, and actually helping businesses comply with some of Ohio's environmental regulations. So we're really proud of that. There's a section in the annual report that talks about all of the webinars that we produced during the year. Dan and his team have really stepped up the activity with our webinars, and which is turned into a very important means of communication of Ohio EPA's message out to the regulated community. So we're really excited about that. Dan may also talk about the Virtual Compliance Assistance Conference. We touched upon that during our last meeting with you, but it's also summarized as well in the annual report. And it was our first one, and we're still super excited about how well that was, and it really is pushed us into a good direction with doing more virtually. And then the last thing that I'll mention about our annual report is it kind of summarizes the activities that we've had with our environmental encouraging environmental excellence programs, and those have really kind of blossomed. We've had what we call E3, the Encouraging Environmental Excellence Program, for a number of years, and we've expanded that now to include encouraging environmental excellence in education, or what we call E4, as well as encouraging environmental excellence in communities, or E3C. And so I really encourage people to, take a look at that annual report. It's not real long. It's about 9 pages. It's got some really kind of interesting graphics and pictures and helpful stuff in there. So we're really proud of that. Moving on to H2 Ohio, I gave a summary of this during our last conversation with you, and I just kind of want to quickly go over that again and give you a little bit of an update. As we talked about during the last Compliance Advisory Council meeting, Ohio EPA is one of the agencies that is involved with administering the H2 Ohio program, along with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the Ohio Department of Agriculture, as well as the Ohio Lake Erie Commission. So there's actually 4 agencies that are involved in H2 Ohio. Our year 1 funding for Ohio EPA was $8.675 million. We took that money and we were very strategic about allocating it. And we did so by helping to support 7 infrastructure projects, both water and wastewater infrastructure, as well as supporting 7 local health districts up in the western basin of Lake Erie to support their programs for home sewage treatment system replacements. We also gave a grant to the Greater Cincinnati Water Works to support their work in replacing lead service lines at daycare, something that we're really excited about. The agency also used some of its year 1 money for 2 additional focus areas. One had to do with installing more stream gauges and weather stations so that we could collect better data, especially up in the western basin of Lake Erie. And then lastly, the agency has been involved in a technology assessment program, and some of our DEFA staff have been involved with helping out with that. So year 1 of H2 Ohio was, very productive. We think we put a lot of hard work into it. Those funds were pretty much obligated last year, before the end of the fiscal year, and we're excited about the opportunity to do more. So, kind of getting you more up to date on H2 Ohio, the controlling board approved what we're calling year 2 or round 2 money back in January of this year. So the controlling board approved basically another $8.675 million for the agency to distribute along the same 5 focus areas that we had in round 1. So we're very appreciative of the General Assembly's action, and we're going to be making kind of final project decisions on that very soon, and getting that money out and getting it, to do good things. Some of you may know that the General Assembly is working on the state's biennial budget right now. They'll be working on that for the next month or so, and we're hopeful that it will include funds for the continuation of the H2 Ohio program. So we're really quite excited about that. So if folks would like any more information about the H2 Ohio program, they can reach out to us, and we'd be happy to get them in the right spot. There also is a website for the program. It is at h2.ohio.gov. That is the official H2 Ohio website, and there's some good information there. So with that, that's kind of my updates, Lexi, and I took longer than just a minute, as I always do, but I'll turn it back to you.
It's always great information, Jerry. We love having you here. I did go ahead and put a link to the DEFA annual report in the chat, as well as a link to the h2ohio.gov page that Jerry mentioned as well. So hopefully those will be easy for you guys to get to, and I'll also include them in the meeting minutes. And it looks like Gretchen was able to join us. So next on our agenda here is just a brief update. We wanted to make sure that you guys met Gretchen. I'm not sure. I think you guys were able to meet her in person a long time ago, but she has since taken a larger role here at the agency. So wanted to introduce Gretchen and have her give you just a short update about Ohio EPA's budget, as the director just gave testimony, I believe it was last week. So Gretchen, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Lexi, and thank you all for having me today. My name is Gretchen Craycraft, and I'm the Deputy Director of Government Affairs with Ohio EPA. So I handle all of the, advocacy with federal, state, and local officials. Do a lot of traffic cop kind of work when I get constituent cases, from officials at all levels, and monitor all the legislation and the budget stuff going on over in the General Assembly. So we do have a biennial budget going on right now. The director testified on March 3rd, and I think that went really well. Her testimony is up on our website if anyone is interested in reading that. But our biggest priority, I think, as Jerry was just talking about, is the H2 Ohio Fund, which has quite an expanded appropriation compared to what we had in the first 2 years of the program. So we're looking at $92 million over the biennium versus about a little over $16 million over the biennium, which is obviously a very big increase and something that we're very excited about. There's a lot of good work that we can do with the increased funding there to help communities all across the state with their water infrastructure needs. A couple other highlights of our budget is we are requesting to end our fee sunsets. No new fee increases, of course, but right now all of our fees sunset every 2 years. So we have to renew them to even have the fees that fund our programs. And these fund over, 50% of the agency is just funded by these fees. So, we think that it's an important measure for stability without increasing any of our fees on the regulated community, on business owners, just to have them there, knowing that these fees fund our compliance assistance folks. I mean, they fund people that help with permits. This is what helps the agency run to work for our regulated community and for our citizens. So, I think that that's an important component of our budget request and something that we're very interested to see where it goes. On some other fronts that might be of interest to this group, we are looking to increase the maximum number of scrap tires that can be cleaned up at a no-fault scrap tire remediation site. So we're looking to increase that from the current number of 5,000 tires, which if any of you are familiar with scrap tires, that's not that many in terms of scrap tire sites. So we're looking to increase that to 10,000 or more at the director's discretion. And that's really based on, the boots on the ground information that we have from our contractors and our team who deal with this day in and day out, that 10,000 is closer to that number that they see at these kind of sites. And, often the people who have these types of tires are on their property, might be elderly, may not have the resources to remove them on their own. So really, it's really helpful in a lot of ways. You don't have this waste on your property, and also tires accumulating water and other things are a health risk with mosquitoes and mosquito-borne illnesses. So I think all around a good situation if we can help more people increase that max and not leave any leftover tires on their property. Beyond that, there are 2 fees that we're requesting to eliminate in the budget. One is a $15 application fee for our solid waste programs, which it's basically required for like any action in the solid waste program. You would pay $15 to have your plan approved or a variance approved or anything like that. And it's not collected very much revenue. And it costs quite a bit of money, I think, for the person cutting a $15 check and for us to process, such a small amount of money. So we're just proposing to get rid of that. It's not efficient. It's not a good use of anybody's time, and free up, $15 for those who are applying under that. And the other fee we're proposing to eliminate is our VAP certified lab fee. And this is in our voluntary action program, which is the brownfield cleanup program that we have at the state level here. And right now, there's a pretty hefty fee to become a lab that participates in that program and can take samples and tests from a VAP site. It costs about $3,000 for the initial certification and then $500 every year after to renew that. And, there are national certifications for laboratories that are just as robust as the standards that we have in the state program. And most labs would already have these types of certifications. So we're just proposing to eliminate that because it's duplicative and it will save these labs money. And, I think a lot of labs are dealing with a lot right now. Some that take our samples might also be dealing with COVID type samples, and wastewater and other things. So I think that this will be a good, reduction of regulatory burden and a chance to streamline our programs a little bit. But I think those are the major highlights of our proposal. I think in a couple weeks here, we're going to see a House substitute bill and see what the members of the legislature are proposing. There's always some interesting curveballs and sometimes some good things and some bad things. So we're anticipating seeing that here in the next couple of weeks. And as we go throughout the summer, in spring, we'll see the Senate go through their version of the budget, conference committee where the two chambers work out their disagreements. And then hopefully we'll have a bill signed on time this year and get our budget passed by the start of the new fiscal year. So I don't know if anyone here has any questions for me, but I'm happy to answer any you might have at this time.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. Does anyone have any questions? Nobody's had enough coffee quite yet. Maybe they'll come up with some later. But thank you so much for joining us, Gretchen. I know you only had a short amount of time. So I'll have Gretchen's information included in our meeting minutes as well if you want to reach out and have questions. Or you can always work through Dan, Jerry, and myself too. Gretchen has a lot going on, but is always a great resource for us as well. So thank you so much, Gretchen. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in over a year now.
No, it's been a long time. Appreciate the time, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Gretchen.
Bye.
Well, with that, we'll move on to our familiar face here, Dan Sowery, with our Ohio EPA updates. It wouldn't be a virtual meeting without letting someone know they're still.
I just watched a TikTok video on that's the number one thing in 2020 or 2021 is, you're on mute. Small Business Environmental Assistance Program, this is the national organization, and an OCAP, our program, makes up Ohio's version of the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program. So just like Jerry said, DFO, we just got our annual report out. We are now submitting our annual report for all of OCAP's efforts, as well as all of the other states that have programs like ours in their annual report. Also, they have nominations for recognizing small businesses. In I think it was last year, we recognized Gloriana for being so supportive of our program, and that was awesome. She got recognized on a national level for her efforts and her support with our program. And then we did end up submitting a nomination for a small business here in the state of Ohio. It's Mad Tree Brewing. We'll see if that gets selected or not by the team. But I guess the reason I bring that up is if you guys know of any small businesses that are deserving of recognition, I'm pushing the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program to see if we can recognize more small businesses, each state recognizing more small businesses, because I think it can also bring more awareness to this program and what we do. And Gloriana, you know this, and Carolyn, being a consultant, you know this. You might have clients in other states. And just like we saw with the Virtual Compliance Assistance Conference, we had 34 states and provinces attend that virtual conference. So, those days of like only Ohio type of centered mentality, especially in this virtual world, we've got to be able to look outside of that, look outside of our borders and be more of a collective force where we can help small businesses and the consultants that are responsible for keeping those businesses out of trouble. Gloriana, I wanted to bring up something that just recently came up. Our regional representative, if you will, for Region 5, she's a US EPA employee, and she actually has an insight right now into 6H. And for those of you that aren't familiar with 6H, that's anybody, it's really automotive shops, collision repair shop. It's anybody that's coating something that's going to be on the road, whether it's a trailer or it's an actual, motor vehicle or whatever it might be. The 6H regulations have all kinds of requirements around the type of paint gun that they use, the type of paints that they use. There's a petition to try to get out of it. There's an exemption, and we just got a really unique opportunity to be able to comment and potentially make some changes. And we have this insight through the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program with our regional liaison. Her name's Ray Trine. So Gloria Ann, I just wanted to throw that one out to you. If there's anything that you could see that we could improve with those exemptions for the collision repair shops, please let us know, and we'll get those comments submitted.
Most of the dealers that I deal with, I rather them get compliant than go for exemption.
Yeah,
that's what
they do too.
Well, and because, I mean, that's what I push for, is I rather them just get compliant than go for exemption. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember helping a number of these when we had the Environmental Results Project with all of the Region 5 states. And we knew that US EPA was coming in to inspect these collision repair shops. In the state of Ohio, there's over 1,500 collision repair shops. So it did affect a number of small businesses. And that was the same experience I had, Gloria. And there's a lot of them like, we don't want to deal with trying to petition for exemption and sending all these forms. We'll just say that we just want to comply and do what we need to do. But the reality is over time, and I think this is somewhat frustrating, is that the emphasis was on the end user of the paints, and the paints that had 5 target heavy metals in it. But really, that could have been more of an emphasis on the manufacturers, because what inevitably happened is the manufacturers said, okay, we're going to create all 6H compliant paints now. And there really aren't many businesses, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gloria, but a lot of those collision repair shops switched over to the compliant paint. So they would qualify for an exemption. So anyway, if there's if you have any ideas, or Carolyn or anybody else on this call, of like how we could reshape that to better help the industry, we have a unique opportunity. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that.
Yes, I do agree that I think if we looked into it, I bet a majority of the shops would be exempt because of the paint that they use. Now, a lot of shops are still not waterborne paint. Even if they were waterborne, they're still solvent clear coats. But so, I mean, there's still some paints that wouldn't comply, but I think the majority of the paints would still be exempt. But I can still tell you there are still a bunch of shops out there that aren't spraying in the right type of booths that so.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, if any of you have any comments on how we can improve that role, I'd definitely like to take those comments and get them to US EPA. It's a unique opportunity to be able to help shape regulations, even if it is late in the game, to be able to shape them to benefit, make it easier on the small businesses that they affect. So Jerry had mentioned, moving on, so Jerry had mentioned webinars, and yeah, we've learned a lot from our virtual compliance assistance conference and the techniques and the strategies. Lexi and a team really did an outstanding job, and we learned a lot. But we've now taken those lessons learned and we've applied it to our webinars. And so DFA, historically, we would put on 1 to 2 webinars a month. And in 2020, we started with an In Your Community webinar series that would go along with the technical series. and the in the community is for local leaders. So that's elected officials. It could be mayors, township trustees, county commissioners, could be city planners. But just an example, we just put one on last Thursday, and it was on open burning, odors, dust, and asbestos. So like a demolition type of activity and triggering the asbestos rules. We had about 225 people that attended that. Really good turnout. But then for the technical series, we partnered with the Bureau of Workers' Comp, and they have their Ohio Safety Congress that they put on there. We had with Gloriana's help, Gloriana and I chair and co-chair the Small Business Environmental Subcommittee as part of BWC's Safety Congress planning, and we had lined up. I don't know what it was, Gloriana, like 14 hours of environmental related sessions at their Safety Congress last year. And then unfortunately, literally it happened right when COVID hit and the mandate to work from home for the indefinite future. And here we are a year later, still doing this. But unfortunately, that got canceled. And so this year they said, hey, we're going to have one of these. We're going to do a virtual conference. It's going to be a 2-day conference. It was last week on the 10th and 11th. And I asked, or I think it was Gloriana's idea, but, can we tag on 4 environmental sessions on Friday? Ohio EPA will handle all of it, and then we just jointly with BWC and with Ohio EPA, we help to market it. Really, really great turnout. We had about 1,800 people register and nearly 1,500 attendees. So for 4 sessions in one day, it was a very busy day. We started at 8 in the morning and we ended at 4 in the afternoon. But to reach 1,500 people in one day is mind-blowing. We've never been able to do something like that. So that was a tremendous success. Building on that, we have another one coming up, and you guys, I wanted to give you a heads up for anybody that's dealing with folks in the construction industry or any businesses that are planning to do any type of construction. So if you disturb over an acre of land, you trigger the construction stormwater requirements. And so that could be somebody putting in a parking lot, putting in another building, something like that. And we're going to do a construction stormwater webinar on March 25th. So I wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. You can check out all of our planning, and I can see Lexi doing this right now. I know how she operates. She's probably going to send you a link here to our training tab where you can see all of these sessions that we have, both in the past and that we have coming up. And we record each of these sessions too. We offer continuing education credits for each of these. And that has garnered a lot of attention just to be able to get those CEUs as well, because there have been a number of conferences that would have been occurring over this last year and unfortunately were canceled due to COVID. So people are hungry to keep up that certification and get those CEUs, and so that's a draw as well. Any of you that are working with small businesses, it might be a restaurant, it could be it doesn't even necessarily have to be a business, it could be a church, it could be an auto auction yard. But if you're out, if that entity is out somewhere not connected to the city sewer, they likely will have their own wastewater treatment plant. And believe it or not, we have a group within DEFA that specifically, just like OCAP, they do this all confidentially and all their services are free. They help people troubleshoot these wastewater treatment plants, which can save an owner lots and lots and lots of money. So we have that session coming up on April 15th. I'm trying to think what else that we have coming up that's really. Oh, I know another one that that we're seeing more and more. Yeah. So this is, thank you, Lexi. So these are some of those sessions coming up that you can register for. You can let businesses know that we have these available. And like I said, we do record all these sessions too. So if anybody missed them, they can always go back and see them again. We have another one coming up, and this is more for local leaders. And this is about water resource protection. And it's specifically about, it's really talking more about 401 and wetlands. But this is an issue, especially up along Lake Erie, where because of erosion or whatever's going on, seawalls are always needing to be replaced along, the shoreline of Lake Erie. But certainly anybody that's going to be, disturbing some kind of wetland or rerouting a stream or dealing with seawalls or doing any of that type of work, we're going to have a webinar on May 27th specifically about that. And another one we have coming up, again, more for local leaders. This is in June 17th, but this is managing contaminated sites. So people that are dealing with, contaminated sites in their community, what do they need to do? That might be of interest to folks as well. So check out those webinars that Lexi put in the chat. In terms of our assistance numbers, we put together DFA's annual report and then also putting our report together for the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program. Our numbers are off the charts, and I've been singing the praises of the staff for quite a while now, but when you really you summarize it all in 1 year and you look back at 2020 with all of the challenges that we've had, the team has been incredibly innovative in the way that we've adapted to this environment, and our numbers are actually higher. In talking to some other state programs like us, I've not heard the same. And some states they have, some states they have not. But we had over 13,000 assistance, requests for assistance, environmental assistance just last year. That's higher than ever before, and I don't see those numbers going down. So the demand is definitely there. Businesses, communities, and others are definitely seeking our assistance. The other thing I wanted to throw out is Jerry touched on this as well, as our Encouraging Environmental Excellence program. Yeah, we have one for communities. We also have one for academia. And when I say academia, I'm talking about K through 12. But the regular E3 program, in fact, all three of those different categories, we've opened up applications, and we're hoping to process those applications now. And then this leads into this next part is we're starting to plan a sustainability conference for this fall. And the goal is to highlight and pull up on a virtual stage. This will be a virtual conference. But to recognize those businesses, communities, and potentially K through 12, if it's a good fit, at the sustainability conference. So I wanted to put a plug in. If you know of businesses that aren't just in compliance with the regulations, but they've taken that next step towards sustainability, we want to recognize those folks in front of their peers and recognize them through this recognition program. In terms of the theme, the team is still working on this, but the one thing that we want to focus on is really highlighting the successes and telling the stories of businesses, communities, and folks in academia of how they took that sustainability step. There's a lot of small businesses out there like, that's great that you can do that, but you're a giant corporation. You have environmental health, you have a sustainability person on your roster, like we can't relate to you. But there are small businesses out there, like I mentioned, Mad Tree Brewing. There are small businesses out there, and I'm sure that you guys work with them that are really doing fantastic stuff. So if you have any ideas or suggestions on speakers or panelists, we're hungry for that information. As we want to be able to showcase what others have done, so other businesses, small businesses in particular, can see, look, that is possible, and I can relate to what they did. I'm going to take their lessons learned and apply it to our operations. So I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions? I covered quite a few things there.
You can tell this is our down season, right?
Yeah.
I got a bunch. So I got a bunch of questions, but I'll wait until everybody else is done.
Well, go ahead, Gloriana.
Well, I'll wait till everybody else gets theirs answered.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, it looks like it's all you, Gloriana.
Okay, so I have a question. Couple different questions. If I want to help out from a school perspective for the educational awards, are you recognizing like entire school districts? So for my school district, I'm down in Grove City, and it's the Southwestern City School District. So would I want to go approach the school district to recognize the entire district, or would I want to recognize like one school in particular, like my son's school, his elementary school? Are you recognizing the entire district, or are you recognizing a specific school building?
That's a great question, Gloriana. So I think we could potentially recognize the entire school district. We might just want to do that under, and we could potentially do it under the Encouraging Environmental Excellence in Education, the E4. But we really set that one up to be more recognizing student-led type of initiatives. So where the students came up with a great idea. But in terms of an entire school district, I don't see why we couldn't recognize them under the regular E3 program, just like we do with universities, community colleges, or any other type of academia. So to answer your question, yes, I definitely would like us to take a look at or see if you can submit an application on their behalf, or have them submit an application and see how we can recognize them. Because at the end of the day, there's other school districts out there that will want to learn from their successes and be able to adopt those strategies for themselves. So does that answer your question?
Okay, so I know that they have like an environmental science or an environmental program, I think at the high school level. So I want to go and talk to maybe their high school teachers or their high school programs for like that environmental science, and then just let them know that, hey, this awards program is out there, and maybe let them know to look at the eligibility criteria, and maybe they can do a program or do something to try to get to this awards, so just to let them know that this criteria is out there, and maybe they can do something to work towards it. Okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, and let me know if you have any questions on that. I'd be happy to help them or you or whomever with any questions.
And I also put Kelsey Hyab's contact information in the chat there. She's our lead on the E4 application. And like Dan said, that one is more for like a student-led activity. So the award winners that we've had in the past have been like a group of students that have done a project to promote what we call our 3 guiding principles of, reduce, reuse, and recycle. So that's the focus of that. But Kelsey will also be able to be of assistance there with that application.
Okay. Well, I'm driving, so I can't see any of that stuff. But so I will definitely get in touch with, because I know that they have. I think there's like an environmental club in the high school.
Yes.
And so they have. So I'll let them know about this and see if maybe that environmental club can do something or other. Okay. All right. So the next question I have is, so I've got a facility, a truck dealership that they are building a brand new dealership. And so in regards to building brand new facilities, so what can I do as a consultant for them, or any facility for that matter, to potentially let them know or get them in, starting right off the bat, or getting them at the right status right off the new facility, to get them in the right sustainability efforts, or,
Yes.
Do you guys have any guidance off, on that, from your compliance assistants, where you could say, okay, are you building a new facility? Do this, do this, do this, Because they're, I think we've talked about this. It's a truck dealership. It's a Freightliner dealership. Well, they are already planning for the future as far as big semi trucks. They're going to be selling pure electric semi trucks. And so they are going to be building these pure electric semi truck charging stations. And they are going to have they're going to have solar panels galore. They're going to have, so they're doing all this sustainability stuff. You know what I mean? So like, how can okay, so do you know where I'm going with this? Like if they're building all this.
Right. I mean, right now is like that prime opportunity while they're starting to do the construction. If you construct the building in such a way, and they wouldn't qualify for that permit by rule, being heavy duty vehicles, but even the way that they construct where they put their paint booths and how high those stacks are and how those stacks are engineered and how far away they are from the property line. Those are all things that you can avoid regulations now by putting those things in and being cognitive, or at least thinking ahead of how the regulations are going to kick in. But then on even further, I think where you're really going is there's an opportunity right now to build the building in such a way, even like with the outside of the building and stormwater management, best management practices that they could employ, whether it's like, pervious pavement. There's various different things that they could do to reduce their impact. And it sounds like they're interested in that. So we have a couple experts that can help with that. And I'll put you in contact with them. I'll follow up with you on an email and give you Kelsey's contact information. And I'll send you the information on that 6H thing as well. And then put you in contact with a couple of our sustainability experts. And then also, and I don't know if they've already been working with these folks, but our environmental education office potentially has some money and some funding opportunities for charging stations. So I don't know if they're already working with them or not, but that might be another opportunity.
The facility is already it's already being built. They've already got the property. It's like, I don't know, it's like 100 acres. It's out here off of 70 West.
Okay.
It's already being built, and it's a huge lot. I mean, they're not going to have any issues with, property lines or anything like that. But, but it's not going to be done until September, they hope to be in it by, I think, September, but, it's being built right now. But I'm just wondering, from the EPA perspective, from your compliance perspective, so not just this facility, but any facility for that matter, as a new build, as an owner, and not from the construction perspective, because the construction crew would probably have all that stormwater management stuff done. But as an owner of a facility, to be able to go to your website and say, okay, I'm building X facility, I want to be sustainable, or I want to be, in compliance with all the regs, if I'm building a new facility, how do I make sure I'm compliant,
Yeah. Yeah, and we have those resources. I don't, certainly we have experts on sustainability, but I think one of the things that they could really benefit from would be, and maybe they're potentially already talking to the Green Building Council of Ohio as well. So that might be, I think with the two folks I was thinking in our program, I would put you in contact. They have all of those, they have all of that insight and all of that knowledge and those contacts. So they would be able to work with those folks to provide any of that information.
Do you have any of that linked on your website? That might be something good to link on your website.
Yeah. Yep, we do. And so I'll follow up with you on an email and provide that to you. Okay,
great. Thanks.
And then, anything that we don't have, the two experts I'm thinking is Bill Narodsky and Dave Folks, that they would be able to provide for you.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up. That's a great opportunity.
That's it.
All right. Any other questions? All right, Lex, back to you.
With that, we'll hand it over to Brooke Grant from OAQDA to do our SBO updates.
Great. Thanks, Lexi. Good morning, everyone. As you know, OAQDA is charged by the General Assembly to serve as the Clean Air Act ombudsman through our Clean Air Resource Center to help small businesses comply with the regulations of the Clean Air Act. At the beginning of this fiscal year, we restructured our program. And as follow-up to that, we then implemented an outreach campaign. And since that time, we've been fortunate enough year to date to work with about 7 small businesses. We've awarded about $1.2 million in financing for those projects, or assisted in financing of those projects, awarding about $130,000 in grant dollars. So we really just continue our outreach discussions with these small businesses. Really wanted to focus on making sure we're reaching the rural areas of the state. We've had a steady interest, continue to field questions. So really, at this point, you know, as you all in your efforts come across any small businesses that may need support in investing in cleaner technologies as they seek to comply, you know, please just share OAQDA's information with them, and we'd be happy to reach out and discuss what opportunities might be available to them through our program. And that's really it.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. Under 2 minutes, but yeah, it's we've had a lot of steady interest and a lot of great stories. So again, just always don't hesitate to share our information and let us know if you come across anything.
That's awesome.
Brooke, I have a question for you.
Sure.
This is Ben Stratton. I bring you guys up a lot to my customers, and the constant refrain is, I'd love to, but I don't want the EPA in my building more often than they already are. You know, do you guys have a good line to respond to that, or do you have a way to respond to that I can use to get you guys into their facilities more often?
Yes. I would say that we want to partner with them as the non-regulatory piece of what they need to do. And I think through conversations with us, most definitely we can help reassure them of that fact and really just explain what our role is in terms of the conduit financing piece. I mean, you know, that's what we do. We're there to help them financially and support their efforts in that manner.
Thanks.
Sure.
And Ben, many of those businesses have questions too. I think Dan was just about to say this, but the 8 staff that I supervise are all non-regulatory too. So they can always reach out to us, you know, not fearing that bad things will happen, and just have that open discussion to see what their areas of concern might be, and then how we can sort of coach them through what they need to know or what permits they might need, so that they don't have that anxiety with dealing with our agency.
Absolutely, and we've done that once before. I think, Lexi, you pointed me in the right direction, or the business owner that had some questions, and you helped us give them some direction and who to reach out to on your team, and it was resolved, and it was great. They were very happy. Yeah.
I always tell people, before I worked at the agency, I would have had no idea how to get to who I needed to get to. So utilize our group here as that front door to welcome you to the suite of services that you need, because there's so many different rules and regulations, and you know, you call one person and who wants to be transferred from one person to the next. So we genuinely are here to help. So thank you, Brooke. We always like that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ben, to build on what you were saying, that's that's a very common challenge that we have in our program because we are in Ohio EPA. So we still have the EPA stigma over us. What we found is that they will believe you before they'll believe us. So having, and Gloria knows this too, and she's been a big champion of our program for at least a decade or more. If they can hear it from you or even their competitor that this program is actually what they say, we're non-regulatory, we're confidential, and like Brooke said, you know, with our sister program with OAQDA, they will listen to you more than they will us or reading something on our webpage. So, and then once we actually work with them, they never leave us.
Yeah,
those
who have done it seem to do great. It's just that initial fear seems to be the biggest challenge that we run into.
Yeah. Sometimes we also put customer testimonials on our webpage. So you could check those out too from other businesses. You know, like I said, it could even be their competitor, but if they hear, or it could be their distributor of whatever the material is, you know, those are the people that can really help champion our program and kind of set the business at ease.
Yeah, and to that point, Ben, we have a lot of really great things that I could forward to you. They could forward news articles that have been picked up that with direct quotes and stories from the business owners themselves about how great the program has been and what it's helped them accomplish. So if that would ever help, if you would have something like that in your back pocket, please let me know and we can get that information over to you.
Will do. Thank you.
I had the joy of reading through some of our testimonials that come through in a survey when we were working on the SB annual report, and not to put you on the spot here, Jessica, but it's so great seeing, it's like an agency-wide survey, but the 8 that I get to work with, it's just so cool to see their names highlighted. And there was one where it said, I think there was 3 different ones that said, Jessica Caceres needs a raise. I would have been lost without her. And the fact that someone takes the time to say that, you know, if that doesn't make you feel good about your job, I don't know what is. But it's great to see that, you know, people were lost and then, you know, they get connected to us and then they feel so much better and they take the effort to share that. So, you know, one of the advantages of working in this virtual environment is we really are just a video conference away. So, you know, if they've got businesses all over the state, we can bring all those people together and have a phone call and, you know, from the comfort of our homes still, but we truly are here to help. I'm going to say that a million times, but I know we're getting short on time here. So the next thing I just wanted to go over really quick was just our next 3 meetings that we have. I did already send out meeting invites for the year, but our next 3 meetings, they're all on Tuesdays. I believe the second or third Tuesday of the month. The next one is May 18th. Same thing, 10 to 11 via Teams, August 17th, and then November 16th. So those will be in the meeting minutes as well, but let me know if you didn't receive any of those meeting invites and I'll make sure that you guys have them. We'll still be using the same format and then I'll be typing up the meeting minutes and posting those along with our recording on our OCAP webpage. So I know there's lots of links and things that I included in today's chat, contact information as well. I'll make sure to include those in the meeting minutes. So Gloriana, you don't have to worry about going back to the messages in your chat for this call. And with that, does anybody else have any questions or things that they wanted to talk about today in our last few minutes? Awesome. Well, the last thing I just wanted to remind you guys of is we are trying to do a better job of our social media presence, especially through Instagram, Twitter, and our LinkedIn page. So that's where we post a lot of information about our upcoming webinars and trainings. We have a team that's been working really hard to post things about, you know, No Waste Wednesdays and things like that. So please, you know, get on there, check that out. I saw a great share from OAQDA with some of our great female leadership in both agencies. So it's great to see those things. So please make sure you find us there. I'll be my millennial plug for the day. But with that, thank you guys so much for coming. It's great to see you all, even if it's just a little gray bubble right now. But take care, and we'll see you all again on May 18th. Have a great day,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
See you, everybody.
Thank you.